Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. If you've listened to my channel over the years, I've always talked about what I call the seesaw theory, which is that the media is going to constantly maneuver people as if you're on a seesaw, right? One side's going to be propped up, the other side's going to feel oppressed, and it's going to go back and forth. It's called the seesaw theory. I made it up, actually. The seesaw theory I've warned about occurring was the seesaw theory of free speech and how they were going to work both sides. I've warned even recently in a lot of videos, I've talked about how Democrats who were out there trying to censor and cancel people, how they were going to get a dose of their own medicine because in a communist society, there's no free speech. And eventually it comes for everyone. And now you're seeing this happening right in front of your eyes. And I hope that this is a chance for young teens out there who identify as Democrats or vote, I should say, as Democrats, but they really identify as Democrats, just like Republicans identify as Republicans, which is communism. Everybody's talking about it being fascism with Trump. It's dual communism. They are loyal to the party. And I hope what they're seeing right now wakes them up to the fact that both parties are compromised, and what they're doing is working together to strip away our rights. It is a mass psychosis. So, that being said, what we've seen since this happened with Donald Trump is that Democrats are not buying what they're seeing, which is a good thing. They shouldn't be buying what they're seeing. But conservatives, because the narrative has shifted in their favor, are completely gatekeeping. They are trying to make sure that nobody questions what happened to Donald Trump. Now, Democrats are naturally calling this fake because the mainstream media, if you haven't noticed, has been very subtly siding with Donald Trump. They've been saying that this can't happen, that this doesn't need to happen. Meanwhile, for years, they've been calling on an assassination on Donald Trump, saying that he should be assassinated. I've shown you the predictive programming. The media literally was saying that he should be thrown in jail. What's the difference between being thrown in jail, an innocent man being thrown in jail, or a man being killed? I mean, you're essentially talking about the same things with the stuff that the media has wanted to have happen. So, by the media suddenly not attacking Trump and making Trump into a martyr, the Democrats are getting very upset. And they're looking at this event and saying to themselves, we think that it's fake. We think Trump made this thing up, that he staged this so he can get more support and win the election. And they're close to truth because now they're looking at the footage and they're saying, this doesn't look real, this looks suspicious, and that's great. But what they need to realize is that this isn't about Donald Trump winning an election. This isn't Donald Trump staging this so that he could win an election that's not real. This is about deception. And what you're seeing is proof that the news is here to formulate your opinion. It is to blur the lines between what is real and what is not. And everything on the news that they show you is scripted. It is fiction. And now the Republicans, who once said cancel culture was ridiculous and all this stuff, are calling upon all Democrats who are tweeting, who are talking about the assassination attempt not being real, to be censored and shut down. And guess what? Even Hollywood is calling on it. Even big tech is calling on it. Thus, you have the elimination of what we call conspiracy theory. Thus, you have what the government has wanted from the get-go. You are not allowed to question the news. That's the bigger picture. It's not about Trump. It's not about Biden. It's about you. And it's about you having to take what they show you on that television set without any evidence as being truth and being real. And now Democrats are starting to feel this, right? So we start with the headlines that are out there. The Trump assassination attempt was a window into America's fractured reality. The shooting wasn't staged, but conspiratorial thinking has become widespread in our paranoid age. So just like I said, conservatives who call a lot of these events fake are suddenly they're refusing to believe that this is fake because it plays to their advantage. Now Democrats who say that we're all nuts, people like me at least, for looking at all these events as being staged, are looking at this and saying it's staged. So you should be seeing a mass awakening happening right now, and it's not, because it's being gatekept. Here are some of the other headlines. The attack on Donald Trump unleashes a flood of misinformation. So this is a title that we're normally used to seeing going towards me and you, right? When we all talk about these events that happen at schools or these other government things that they do, which are all fake and fictitious, right? Or the stuff that happened with the outbreak, and they told us we were all misinformation, right? Now, all of a sudden, the misinformation label is going to Democrats. Why? Because they're questioning the news. And you ultimately will not be allowed to question the news. That's how a communist society works. It's state-run media. There is no alternative viewpoint. And now conservatives are on board with censorship because they're getting played to. They're playing this towards conservatives who are angry that Democrats who have silenced them with their beliefs before by calling them fake news and calling them misinformation, they want to throw it right back at them like children. And that's what the government has wanted from the beginning. Cancel each other out. That's what they're trying to do. Cancel one another out so that they can change the laws, they can change the Constitution, and everybody will ask for it because they're angry. Tim Robbins has come out. He's condemned those comparing Trump's assassination attempt to his movie, Bob Roberts. He's calling them deranged, saying they have a deranged mindset. And this is his 1992 film, Bob Roberts, which is a complete flop, okay? And now they have the Bob Roberts conspiracy. Because why? Because Democrats are saying, look, they're copying a movie script. Hi, thank you, welcome to the show. Welcome to the real reality. The news is scripted, not just the stories that work to your favor, not just the stories that make you happy or not make you happy. All of it is. So think of it from the perspective of all the other things that we've talked about with shooting events that have occurred, where 5 seconds later, the parents of the victims are asking for everybody out there to give up their guns or everybody out there to make new rules. Just because your take on gun control is one thing, you're not thinking from the bigger picture because you're emotionally invested in these stories, thinking they're real. The big picture is that the government wants to seize arms so that we have total tyranny, okay? Now conservatives are calling on Democrats to be censored. Here is your alt-right media, okay? The cringy alt-right media, which, again, for those of you that don't know, I can't emphasize this enough. There was a truth movement. There's no such thing as the alt-right before Trump got put in power. There was just a bunch of us on YouTube getting millions of views talking about how this stuff was fake, right? Then the alt-right media came in and they adopted conspiracy. So people who weren't fully awake yet, who were just starting to realize that there was this big thing going on with children and Satan, they got lured in to this QAnon alt-right movement, which is a complete gatekeeping movement which keeps you stuck in the left-right. And now that alt-right media is calling on censorship of the Democrats, right? Cernovich, a perfect example. This guy's been exposed a million times over. This is how regime media is reporting on today's assassination attempt. Then they show articles, right? Trump escorted away after loud noises. Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally, right? Getting people angry. How dare they not say that he was shot? Saying that this news needs to be reported accurately. But what is accurately, right? Whose lenses are we viewing this through if the things they're doing are scripted? And here is a perfect example. If you don't know this guy, of the Rubin Report, right? This is one of the guys that they're using in the alt-right media. Of course, conveniently, the alt-right media ignores the fact that this guy from the Rubin Report, who couldn't be more boring, less entertaining, who gets pushed it on YouTube day in and day out, packs the fudge, right? No big deal to the alt-right media. Like, they condemn everybody else who does, who has a certain preference in the bedroom, but not him, right? Because he's allowed to do that because he has the same political viewpoint, thus communism. Listen to Dave Rubin of the Rubin Report talk about how we can't do this. The media needs to stop doing this because the media wasn't reporting the assassination attempt the way that the conservatives wanted it reported, right? So now we're looking at this new viewpoint. This new viewpoint is you can't take something that we see with our own eyes and then manipulate the story. But they don't tell you that what you're seeing with your own eyes is what's manipulated, that these are staged events to blur your lines into believing that something that is not real is real. And this is how you live in a scripted reality. This is how they bring you into a matrix, right? Everybody talks about the matrix. Everybody talks about a simulated reality. They don't realize what it is. They just say it. They're like, simulated reality. The simulated reality is the perception that the stuff on the news is real, to blur your viewpoints of what's happening in the world and to move you, maneuver you, and manipulate you. And that's what you're seeing with the left-right divide. Listen to this clip from the Rubin Report.
Check out some of these mainstream media headlines as to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Washington Post: Trump escorted away after loud noises. Pennsylvania rally. CNN: Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. USA Today: Trump removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startles former president crowd. NBC: Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after popping noises heard at his Pennsylvania rally. CNN, Trump injured in incident at rally. LA Times, Trump whisked off stage in Pennsylvania after loud noises rang through the crowd. Forbes, oh, and this one, look at this. This is an editorial. Will surviving gunfire be Donald Trump's next appeal to black voters? Forbes did end up deleting that one, and it's under their subtitle. They have a subsection on their website for diversity and inclusion, which is insane. But my God, guys, my God, this is where we are at. So if you have a friend that still reads Washington Post or watches CNN or pays attention to the New York Times or any of these things, like, this is it, guys. This is the actual breaking point right now. It might be an entire breaking point for a country, but at least in the media lens, how do we all visualize reality, right? There's reality. Reality exists, period. Reality is just something that exists, right? It's the nature of the universe. There's something happening here. We're all part of it, right? That's reality. What the media is supposed to do is give you a lens so you're able to have some ballpark sense of what reality is. Did any of those headlines sound right to you? And would it have written any of those headlines that way had it been Barack Obama or Joe Biden or quite literally any other Democrat? And what's even more amazing about them writing those headlines is they still think they're going to get away with it.
So he's giving us a lecture on what the media is supposed to do. They're supposed to give you a lens so that we can have a ballpark perspective of what's real and what's really happening, right? But they don't talk about the lens itself being controlled, because that's what this is all about. That's what I've been talking about for years. The actual lens, because we automatically give credence to the news that it's real because we're seeing it acted out in front of us. Everybody thinks this whole term fake news has something to do with, well, Donald Trump, it's fake news because the media calls Donald Trump a criminal, right? And then the other side calls people like me and you fake news because we question what's actually in the news, right? But everybody should be questioning the lens we're seeing it from. Why is it out of the realm of possibility for a bunch of psychopaths who are Republican and Democrat to take the lens that we're looking at things through and manipulate it and to say this is what's happening, but never to think for 1 second that they could stage it? Like I said previously, the problem people seem to be having is that if there's an actual victim, they don't want to believe. This is what we're seeing with the conservatives, with the guy who was supposedly shot at the event, right? They're getting angry that anyone will call it fake because somebody was shot. That's the same thing that Democrats do with the school events, right? When we all call it fake, we're like, well, nobody really was. And some of them, because in some of the events, the people that they put on screen are already dead. They're not even alive. They're not even real. They're Photoshop. They're done through AI. Hello? Have you seen some of the deep fakes out there? Now people don't want to believe the government. They're 50 years, 100 years in advance with the tech that they have. So just being able to see some of these deep fakes of Keanu Reeves should make people say, whoa, it's scary how easily they could dupe people. Right. So when they tell you that there's these victims that no one ever knows, why is it hard to dupe that? Why is it hard to create in a photo app, a Photoshop app, children and say that they went to some school? Oh, because it's wicked and evil to think that way? Well, guess what? These people are wicked beyond your comprehension. So, right? Why are we looking at it as conservative people out there? Why are you, I should say, because I'm not one of them. Why are conservatives looking at this and getting angry? Because it's the same exact thing that the other side was feeling. They're doing it to both of you. They're working you both. They're manipulating you. Just like a psychotic ex-girlfriend or boyfriend has probably done to some of you in the past. You're being manipulated by the government. Should that surprise you? Do you trust these people? Democrats look at Republicans in Congress like these guys are sleazeballs. Okay, they're right. And Republicans look at Democrats and call them sleazeballs. They're right. They're all sleazeballs. They're all manipulating you, right? And now what we're seeing is the conservatives looking at this and they're getting angry that anybody's questioning if there was a victim or not. Now, I don't know if there was or not, but I'd like an open investigation, right? But I can't just go by a photo of a guy in the newspaper and then them showing me, a picture of him on the news with a balloon that says he turned 50 or anything else. I can't go by it because it's not enough evidence to show someone a picture. But for this world, these people who all have been trained to watch true crimes and want investigations into this and that, they're okay with just being shown it and then gaslit with the story. They just accept it as reality, right? So the conservatives are mad that the Democrats are questioning the validity of this event. And then you have guys like this, Dom LaCree, who I didn't know of until now, right? Here's a guy, another one of these alt-right guys, who they claim that they're canceled and they get canceled, they get censored. None of these people do. This guy's on over 1 million people that follow a guy who's completely stuck in the matrix, believing in Trump, believing in Biden, believing in the simulated reality, right? Talking about, he says, quote, "I'm urging all my fellow creators to help me start creating cases on all of them on behalf of the families that were injured or killed at the rally. I only want to seek $1 billion in damages for the MAGA family since nobody is against the law," right? So he, in a way, is mocking the entire thing that happened with Alex Jones, which I warned about. I told everybody about Alex Jones, COINTELPRO. Most of you already know. Some of the newbies don't know. People who think that they're red-pilled follow Alex Jones. They don't realize that he's COINTELPRO. It's a government op. You're all being herded into it. The common theme is believing in the left-right, okay? Jones went to court and laid down in court to set a precedent. If anybody was a real truther and they got brought to court for that Sandy event, they could have brought up, I mean, we're talking about hundreds of documents of evidence that would have made people around the country go, whoa, right? Just for example, we had a father at the event who was a grieving father, and 5 minutes later was caught on camera as an FBI agent, right? Now, it wasn't that he was both, because he didn't go on TV, go, "I'm an FBI agent, my kid was just killed." He was playing dual roles. That's how obvious it was, not to mention the laughing actors, the father, I mean, it was unbelievable. So if I, for example, was taken to court, I would have brought all this stuff up. Alex Jones went to court and he just said, I made it up for views. Oh, okay, and he laid down because that was what was supposed to be done to set a precedent. And now Dom LaCree, a conservative, is asking for the same thing. Now, they could send my thing there to Dom LaCree, have a great time. You want to bring me to court? I want an open investigation. I want real evidence. I want to see the background of these people. I want to see the connection between BlackRock and the shooter, all of it. The problem that they have, and they're so unhinged right now, is that it's their guy. It's their guy. And they're believing in the news, right? So in a sense, it's tick for tack, right? This guy, Dom LaCree, is calling on people because he's mad what happened with cancel culture and taking Alex Jones to court, right? This guy's not realizing, unless he's an agent, that it was done by design to set a precedent so that people like him do monkey see, monkey do. So everybody cancels each other out, right? So I would love to be on the list. Okay, you take me to court, go ahead. I will bring up everything I brought up for years. I'll bring up the fact that I've had over 1 million subs combined. I've had probably more channels than any YouTuber in the history of YouTube with over 100,000 subs. I mean, most people are finding my channel like, who is this guy? What's he saying? You know, there's a reason I'm silenced, okay? And the reason that people like this aren't. And it's not because I'm jealous because I want to be popular. It's because these people are gatekeepers, okay? Whether they realize it or they don't. Okay? And I'll be able to reach a large audience if you bring me to court over this, a large audience of people. And a lot of people go, "I remember him. Where has he been?" And they'll all be excited to hear my voice again. And they'll be excited to hear a voice of reason in a time of chaos where nobody can figure out the psychological aspect of it. So conservatives, and this isn't a shot on the guy, Dom LaCree, because this could just be a regular guy who's under the hypnosis, or it could be a government agent. But this mindset is a problem, okay? This is setting a precedent of you being able to question the news or not. And guess what the common theme is with these news stories at all these schools and Donald Trump's event? There's no trial. The evidence you're presented is coming from the news. That's it. Word of mouth. Oh, the FBI couldn't get his cell phone record. Oh, that's not suspicious. Well, of course it's suspicious. They want you to be suspicious of the story so that you go down a rabbit hole, an endless rabbit hole. You don't realize that the news is fake, so you keep trying to figure out who's the killer, who's he related to, blah, 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 blah. Just go into CIA operations about mind control Manchurian candidates and then figure out who all these shooters are. Realize why they never lived to tell a story, right? There's never a story, right? But there's never a trial. That's the point. There's never evidence presented. The evidence is what the news tells you. Oh, and so saw somebody there. Oh, and then they have crisis actors on the scene. How convenient. And they tell us a tale and they weave a story at every one of these events and we're supposed to take it verbatim as if we know these people. That's hypnotism, okay? And there's no evidence provided. Look at these things like you look at the true crime documentaries. I use true crime because it's so popular these days, and I see how into it people get. And I say to myself, why don't they look at the news the same way? Right? They don't. They don't. And then when I tell them that, they're like, well, yeah, I guess that's a good point. If it's not a good point, it's a great point. It should be the only point. Why are we trusting any of these people? Why are conservatives now so butthurt over Democrats? Democrats are under mind control. I'm trying to help people get out of the mind control. They think it's like a personal attack on them because they're loyal to their party. They don't understand basic communist propaganda, how the Communist Manifesto was written, the same exact way things are acting and carrying out right now. But look at this stuff and say to yourself, what are you doing? What is everybody doing by trying to cancel out the other side? Now we're offended because Democrats are questioning the news. They're like, well, they're questioning the news. They're questioning Donald Trump, and that's not fair. Everybody should question the news, and the government doesn't want you to. And that's why they're setting a precedent here. And that's why the gatekeeping alt-right is out there screaming about censorship of Democrats, suing Democrats, giving them a dose of their own medicine. When the Democrats are under mind control, and they should be seeing this from the Republicans and the stuff that just was presented to them as truth with Donald Trump and be saying, you know what? Maybe the news is fake. Maybe they are all in on it together. That's the way everyone should be thinking right now. And now that conservatives are getting propped up, they're more unhinged than the Democrats were. They are eating this up hook, line, and sinker. They are getting baited, and they think that they're freely thinking. They are deeper in the hypnosis, I think, at this point, the Democrats are. I didn't realize the MAGA hypnosis was this bad because, I don't see this around me every single day. I don't live among MAGA. I don't have MAGA friends, okay? But when I saw what happened with this attempt and I saw how Christians have responded, their mind control is equally as bad. Both sides. It's the news that's doing this to you. They say, well, the media is the enemy of the state. I keep saying that, right? They say the media is the enemy of the state only when the narrative doesn't fit their narrative. Instead of saying, the media is the enemy of the state, they make up the news. Why? So they can create a false perception of reality. Imagine the Amish. They don't know any of this is going on because they don't have technology. Smartest ones out there. People are like, that's weird. That's strange. Oh, yeah. If you didn't own a TV or didn't own a phone, would you even know this happened to Trump? No. Would you know who Donald Trump was? No. If Donald Trump was against the deep state, not only would he have been gone a long time ago, he never would be featured in the news every day. Every one of these stories on the liberal-run media, they know it's to garner support of Trump. They know how the mind works. They've been studying it for a long time. Let's go back to Operation Paperclip and all the scientists that came here with the intent of operating mind control experiments on the United States of America civilians, right? Now it's mastered. So you look at it from that standpoint and you say, okay, well, you don't think that they know that by constantly on the liberal media, they sound like idiots, they sound insane, that the majority of civilians are going to call it fake news and say these people are, and that by doing that and saying the stuff they say that you don't think that they know that more people are going to support Trump? That's the point. That's the point. And what comes in the election, which I'll cover, too big to be rigged, is going to be huge. Because just imagine what I've been telling you for a while of how they're going to pull the rug out of that red wave. And everyone's going to say that everything's rigged and everything's fixed, so we need to change everything. Because that's what the globalists want, is change of the infrastructure. And the conservatives are going to fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. People need to stop canceling free speech. And this is them saying, that's not free speech. That's not fair that they're calling this attempt on Trump a hoax. And that's what the government wants. You are not going to be able to question the news, and they're going to be able to feed you propaganda every second of every day, which is what they're doing right now. But they don't want people like you and me out there waking up minds. That's the problem to them. That's the only thing that stands between them and world domination. I thank you for being here, everybody. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.